Hello, parents. I hope that you are having a great day and welcome to curriculum night for the school year of 20 to 21. And I just want to welcome you and thank you for coming and know that I am looking forward to a wonderful school year and partnering with you, parents, so that your child can have a successful year in first grade. I do ask that everybody if you could turn your microphones off and just enjoy this presentation and save any questions that you have until the very end. So, a couple of things that we're going to be talking about during this curriculum night is literacy, which is our reading, our writing, and our word study instruction. Also, our math instruction. I'll be giving you an overview of what math workshop looks like for your child as a first grader. And then our orientation days. I'll give you an overview of what school will look like once our orientation weeks start for the first time next week. So, our workshop framework is we have a mini lesson where it's whole group instruction and it's for about 15 or 20 minutes of time. And then after our focused mini lesson, where we're teaching a strategy or a concept, during that independent time here, your child will be working on that strategy or that concept or that skill. They can be working on that skill, concept, or strategy independently. They can be doing that in a small group, or they can be working one on one or in a small group with a teacher too. At the very end of our workshop model, we always come together as a whole group and we share our strategies and our thinking and our reflections and just any celebrations that we notice during our workshop model. We follow this workshop model for reading instruction, our writing instruction, and also our math instruction. Our reading workshop model in first grade, our goal is really for your child to see themselves as a reader. So many times our first graders come in and they just don't have really good confidence in themselves as readers, and that's to be expected. But we will be really showing them lots of diverse books and giving them books that are diverse and focused on growing readers so that they can have great accuracy, fluency, and comprehension. And I'm going to go over those three parts of reading because they are so important. Accuracy is when your child is reading the words correctly. And in order to read the words correctly, that helps them to understand what they're reading and also to sound like a reader. Fluency is when they are reading at a good speed, so they're not reading too fast or too slow. They're reading the words accurately. They sound like the character. They sound like a reader. Comprehension is kind of putting all the pieces together. And in order to have good comprehension, a reader has to be reading accurately and also fluently. Comprehension is your child's understanding of what they have read. So, talking about what they read, answering some questions, talking about the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story, the characters, and eventually they will start writing about what they have read. So, parents always ask, what can I do at home with my child to help them become a better reader? Well, there are several things that you can do. Your child will be bringing home some books that will be in a baggie, and they will be expected to read those for about 10 or 15 minutes a night. Now, I will tell you that these books will not come home the first week of school, even the second week of school, because we have to get to know your child as a reader. And I want to send books home that your child is going to be engaged in and also have success with. And if I send home just random books, your child is not going to be engaged in those. So I want to make sure that I have a good understanding of where your child is reading so that I can send books home that are enjoyable to them. The books are going to come back to school every single day. Obviously, that is not going to be the model in the first couple weeks of school, but eventually when we get into that routine of coming to school every day, it's so important that your child brings the books home or brings the books back to the classroom that they took home to practice with. Okay, so if you could just help them make sure that their reading bag gets in their backpack every night, that would be so helpful for me and also for your child. The second thing is just having your child read the books when they come home. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly when they come home because we know that first graders are tired. They're not used to being at school all day. So, if you want to do it in the evening, if you have other things going on, just fitting it in 10 or 15 minutes, just have them read to you. The third thing that you can do is just listening to them read, listening to them problem solve tricky words, and then just encouraging them, reminding them that, in order to become a better reader, you have to practice, and practice means sometimes you make mistakes, and we learn from those mistakes and we get better at reading. And the last thing goes along with that comprehension piece is just asking questions about the story, talking about the story, the characters, the events, what was your favorite part, things like that. So just talking about the books that your child brings home. Writing workshop follows the same workshop model where we have our mini lesson, and then we have our independent time, and then we have our reflection and our whole group where we come back together and we talk about things that have happened during that time. So in first grade, your child will be focusing on three different kinds of writing. And those are going to be narratives, and those are stories about me. And those can be about anything. It can be about going to the pumpkin patch. It can be about going to the pool. It could be about going to the grocery store. It can be about anything, a play date. An opinion writing is just sharing their opinion about something. And today we did an I would you rather. And it was obviously not something that is realistic, but the magic carpet. Would you rather have a magic carpet, or would you rather have a robot? I apologize about that. So just having them think about would you rather. And then also the informational research at the very end of the year, we'll do some research projects. Students will get to choose things that they are interested in, and then also research those. And lastly, they'll get to research things that they're really interested in as well. Writing at home, when your child is writing at home, if you could just be encouraging of them to use correct letter formation. It's important for primary students, young students, to make sure that they're starting in the right location when they're forming their letters. And then also, making sure that they're using capital letters and punctuation marks throughout their work. And I always tell parents that this is something that doesn't come the first or the second month of school. This is a whole year process. Details, make sure that you're asking questions about what your child is writing. This will lead them to adding more details to their story. So, who were you with? Why did you go? Where were you? How was it? Things like that. Just adding some more questions will get them to incorporate more things into their writing. And the last thing is just to have fun. So make writing fun for them. Let them write about things that they're interested in and what makes them happy. And you can always go back and work on handwriting and conventions and details during that. Word study is a super important part of what we do as far as instruction goes at school. First grade word study, we focus on the mastery of all the elements of phonological awareness with a strong emphasis on spelling high frequency words as well as beginning phonics. So, vocabulary and word structure, this is just knowing what words mean when they come to them in a story and also in conversation. And then visual strategies, knowing that a word looks right based on the way they spelled it, just from knowledge of books and stories that they've seen and words that they've seen before. Having good word recognition, being able to recognize words quickly and efficiently, and that includes sight words. And then phonics and phonological awareness, those are those beginning skills that your child has learned in kindergarten, and we will build upon those in first grade. And some of you might be wondering, what are high frequency words? Well, high frequency words are words that we need to be able to know automatically, and they are words that appear frequently in the text that we read. And they oftentimes do not follow a typical spelling pattern, so we can't tell students to sound them out. And that's sometimes why these words are tricky for students to learn. And it's important to know that 100 words make up 50% of the words that we read. Word study at home. So these are just some things that you can do to support your child while they're practicing their sight words and other important words at home. So just picking a few at a time and practicing them by themselves. And then also recognizing when your child is reading them in stories and just pointing those out and saying, oh, there's a high frequency sight word that you just practiced and wrote. It's right there in the story you're reading. So just making them aware of that. Sight words. Sometimes students are hesitant to want to write after school because they're tired, but just make it fun. Use Play-Doh, use chalk, use shaving cream, use whiteboards, paint, whatever it is that you will find engaging for your child. A lot of other times we will point out patterns that are in words. So words that have a Y at the ends, words that have at in them, words that have it. Any kind of pattern is a good way for students to better understand how words work. And then lastly is just be a word collector. So notice and learn new words that are interesting or important to students. Math workshop in first grade. Like I said, we follow that workshop model in math as well. And it will be a balance of building conceptual understanding and skills. In Dublin City Schools adopted a primary resource from the Math Learning Center called Bridges in Mathematics. And I did use it last year with my first graders up until we ended school in March because of the quarantine, but I saw lots of success and growth with this program, and I'm excited to use it again this year. Math at home, these are just some things that you can do with your child at home. Counting, so playing counting games, encouraging your student to count throughout the day, count things that they see around them as we have been doing through our virtual learning this past week. Also, just math facts. Students will need to know their addition and subtraction facts to 10. So like 2 plus 3 equals 5, 7 minus 2 equals 5, any kind of fact that is up to 10. We also want students to be problem solvers, so giving them real life problems, and sometimes just using food as motivation is sometimes helpful for them. The last thing about math is you will be getting an ST login for your child. It will be coming home soon, but we do not have that yet. And I will be putting it on your student login information for your child and making sure that they have an updated version of that sent to their email. So this is going to be information about our hybrid model, and this is going to be for 2 weeks so that we can practice social distancing, so that we can practice hand washing, we can practice wearing our mask at school, and just being safe and having our safety protocol in place. So this is a normal school day. If your child's last name is between A and K, they would come to school between 8:30 and 11:30. In the middle of the day, between the AM and the PM time, staff members are going to be cleaning, disinfecting, having our lunch, and then also planning with our teammates. And that will occur between 11:30 and 1 o'clock. And then students whose last names end in L through Z will be through 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Now, we do not have school this coming Monday. This is the first week of our hybrid model. And I just want to point out that students who have last names A through D will be coming in the AM, and students that have last names L through R will be coming in the PM. And I also want to point out that students will not come every day of the week during our orientation days. So these students will come on Tuesday. They won't come on Wednesday, but they'll come again on Thursday. And then these students with the last names E through K and S through Z will come on Wednesday and then again on Friday. Okay, this is our week 2. Same schedule. So if your child's last name ends with A through D, they'll come in the AM. If it ends in L through R, they'll come in the PM. Okay, students with that are here on Monday will come again on Wednesday, and students that are here on Tuesday will come again on Thursday. Now, Friday we do have school. However, we are waiting on the board to approve a schedule that we will use going forward. We have been hearing a lot of language, and 2 of the words that comes up frequently is synchronous and asynchronous when we're talking about learning. And synchronous means that while your student is in school, we will be focusing on reading, writing, word study, and math workshops. And then asynchronous are things that your child is going to be working on at home. And the focus will be on independent practice and then also on our related arts instruction. So what does learning look like on the days that your student is not at school? We will be providing weekly choice boards with a variety of ideas for your student to work on independently. Activities on these choice boards will build upon the learning that is taking place in our classroom, and then also just to brush up on some skills that your child might be, just working on knowing a little better from kindergarten. Google Classroom is important because we are using that as a place where we're putting information for your child to access when they are not in school. So it's important that you are going there for updates, for classroom news, and also for asynchronous learning choices that can be found there. And I just encourage you to use that and check in on it on a regular basis because it does change. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I will be answering any kind of questions that you might have. If I don't know the answer to your question, I will do my best to find the answer to it and reach out to those who could better answer your question. I also just want to point out here that this is the website for our classroom, and there will be new things added to that throughout the school year. So I am going to end this slideshow, and I will be joining to answer your questions.